Opening night of the NBA season is close. It's Tuesday, October 18th. Do you think the Golden State Warriors can repeat? To celebrate the start of the season, we are offering you a 7-day NBA package for only $49. Yes, that's only $7 a day, and it will be valid through Sunday, October 23rd at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo. There is no limit to the number of handicappers that you can get. Just head to your favorite capper's homepage.
Hey guys, welcome in on a very happy week 8 of the college football season, because that is where we are right now. It is time to talk a little college football here in a happy hour college football kickoff show powered by WagerTalk.com. Some big matchups happening this week. We're going to break down 3 for you, and of course we're going to do it with our Tuesday crew as we welcome back in Mr. Tony Mejia in the house. Dave Cokin is here, as is Ralph Michaels on this week 8. And Mr. Mejia, what is going on, my friend? Welcome back in on this Tuesday. I see, we know NBA is going. NHL is going, college basketball will be here before we know it, but of course NFL and college football in swing. So what do you got locked and loaded for us at Wager Talk?
Yeah, no college football up just yet, but did write the goal sheet right up on the game that kicks off this season that we'll be talking about soon, Georgia State and Appalachian State. So I kind of know what direction
Wow, kind of looks like me last time I was on this show. So we'll try that one more time. Oh, I got you there, Tony. Just go ahead and refresh that if you could real quick, and we'll be right back to you as we welcome in Dave Cokin in the house. Dave continuing to be number one here, guys, so far here last 30 days, as well as college football all time. Dave, what do you got, if anything, ready to go here this week at WagerTalk.com?
One best bet is up now in college football. I put it up Sunday night. It's a game I like quite a bit. And we'll be adding to that. And you mentioned I'm number one overall in profits across the board. Last 30 days, still number one all time in college football profits. Number 2 all time in NHL profits. So, pretty good. Get a package.
Yeah, guys, we say it every week, but those 3-day, 7-day, 30-day all-access packages, especially with the busiest time of year across all the sports landscape, now is the time to do it. Ralph Michaels knows all about that. Ralph, welcome in, my friend. Good to see you. You, too, over the last couple of weeks, have been crushing it here in football. What's going on, man?
Well, 12 of 15 winning days in football, that breaks out to 80%. I had a nice 5-star NHL winner last night. My NHL 5 stars, 5% plays, 17-1. So keep tuned for that. NBA, number 1 last year in both win percentage and profit. Don't have an NBA play tonight, but I do have a hockey play. I have loaded a couple college football. I'll be loading more. A great time to get a 7-day all-access or a 30-day pass at WagerTalk.com.
Absolutely. It is, Ralph. And Tony Mejia, we will start with you. We got game number 1 coming up a little earlier in the week. And then, of course, you can tell us exactly what you got ready to go over at Wager Talk as well. Georgia State taking on App State here. A little bit of a revenge spot here for Georgia State. 10 is what that number was, with a total of 59. 7:30 Eastern time kick here tomorrow night, in fact. Georgia State turning it around. App State, not a great game last one there. What do you think here, Mejia? What are we going to get from them?
Yeah, a lot of a revenge for Georgia State. I'm coming in clear, Joe. You hear me?
You're good.
All right, yeah. So they've lost 8 straight to Appalachian State. Sean Elliott hasn't beat them, and he, that's kind of personal because he was an assistant there for 13 years. So he wants to get off the snide there. Georgia State comes off a victory in modern-day hate over rival Georgia Southern, and they've really gotten it done on the ground all season, really, but over the past 2 games, 209 rushing yards in the upset at Army up at West Point, and then 336 against Georgia Southern, who then pulled off an upset of nationally ranked James Madison next week. So GSU is playing well, and this is an opportunity for them to Appalachian State, who really has struggled since taking over the college football world, hijacking college game day from Texas A&M with that upset, and then beating Troy on that last second Hail Mary. They've struggled since. So I don't think that this game should be a double-digit spread. I think Georgia State is a live dog. At this point, they're pretty healthy. And again, like Tucker Gregg and Jameis Williams, their two running backs, have gone over 100 yards each in the last two games. Georgia State 13th in the country in rushing, 234.5 yards per game. Appalachian State runs the ball pretty well, too. If GSU can contain Chase Bryce and maybe get a red zone turnover, I think they can win the game outright. Certainly, I would be taking the points.
David, it feels like a huge number here for where these two teams are right now. Is 10 points something you'd even be willing to consider to lay in this?
No, not really, but I don't want to take it either. App State, look, they weren't as good as they appeared to be early on. But you got to think this team's going to be seriously motivated here. They're off a bad game against Texas State, a team they should have handled. And I would think that gets them really focused here. Georgia State has shown some moxie, but I don't think they're a particularly good football team. I made this right about when the number is, so I can't really give you anything of substance on the game. I think App State wins. I don't want Georgia State in this spot, but I'm not willing to lay 10, so I'll leave it to the other guys to come up with something on this one.
Yeah, it's a tough number here, Ralph, but certainly App State is going to be motivated after that last game here. What do you think we get here?
Well, I'm going to say, when you are 0-4 ATS as a favorite against FBS foes, and while Tony said, since the Troy game they've played poorly, I'm going to say they played poorly in the Troy game, only winning by 4 as a 13.5 point favorite. If you're wondering about teams that lost as a favorite of 14 or more, App State was a 19-point favorite at Texas. It's 50.2%, so it's basically 50-50. Teams haven't bounced back at a big number, not saying App State can't, but I'm going to be Switzerland here. I can't take App State because they're 0-4 as a favorite. They haven't got margin. It seems they've played down to their level of competition. And while Georgia State looks like they're off 2 good games, which they are, let me point out that Army's rush defense is number 125 this year. Georgia Southern's rush defense is number 127 this year. Georgia State, a run-based team, they average 47 rushes per game. App State is a top 40 rush defense, allowing only 3.4 yards per carry. And since that opening game against North Carolina, where they allowed 215, 6.1, they've really shut down the rush foes. So I'm going to be like Dave, and I'm going to just say you're going to have to listen to Tony's advice if you like this, because I'm not going to lay this with App State, but I think Georgia State's 2 wins are very misleading against 2 bottom 10 rush defenses this season.
All right, Ralph, not all that impressed here with the Georgia State W's. App State.
One quick thing, Joe.
Go ahead, Tone.
Just one last point, because it is the Wednesday game. Temperatures in this game going to be in the high 20s, which I mean, I don't know if you guys know for sure. I think this is the coldest game of the season to date. I know we've got a cold front coming.
Wow. Jeez, 20s, guys. Did you hear that? 20s. I mean, the air conditioning's on 65 in here, and I'm freezing my nads off. I don't even know what to consider with 20 degrees anymore. And I know you don't either, Ralph. So I don't even want to hear it from you. But yes, cold weather is it coming here as we approach the end of October and into November. And we got game number 2 here on the card. Minnesota taking on Penn State. Interesting weather game here also. But this is just chock full with all sorts of situational disgustingness here, especially given the fact that Minnesota's off of 2 losses against actual teams that, really do play football. Ralph, I want to go to you because I know you had pulled up an interesting trend here with the Golden Gophers who, I don't know, Tanner Morgan playing? Is he not? He was in the concussion protocol. It's just a bad spot all the way around here for Minnesota.
Well, let's answer the quarterback issues first. Morgan went to the hospital, woke up the next morning completely fine. Monday was the NCAA mandatory off day. He went to practice today. We don't know how much he took Carr to practice, but Fleck did make this quote in yesterday's newspaper. My policy is for players that that have played a ton. It doesn't matter if they practice, they can play that week. So Tanner Morgan, one of those people that if he's fine at the end of the week, he'll want him. Obviously, 45 starts, he wants that experience. You finally get Ibrahim and Potts together in this game. Ibrahim missed 2 games ago. Potts missed last game. They're rushing for 700 and 300 on the season, 6.7 and 4.9 yards per carry. Obviously, Penn State, I'm not going to say Penn State can't stop the rush because Michigan ran 55 times for 418. On the road's a different scenario. They played early, but they got outgained in the first half, 274 to 83. So it was the misleading 14 points they got in the first half. Clifford, they said they were injured. I went to read the Center Times, which is the Penn State newspaper this morning, and I read an article from a few days ago, and they are actually calling for Drew Aller. They're saying, should Drew Aller now be the starter? He's a 5-star recruit. So, when you start to have those rumblings in the paper, that's something that can hurt the confidence of a quarterback. It is a whiteout game, which I give an extra point to when you're Penn State. So if Minnesota has a very young quarterback going into a whiteout, I want no part of him. If Tanner Morgan's playing, I have a slight lean with the Gophers. The numbers you talked about, if a team is off a loss as an away favorite and they gained under 200 yards, going back the last 10 years, they have only covered 36% against the spread. So if I check the road teams, I wanted to check the home teams and see what the numbers were, and it was the exact opposite. If you were off a loss as a home favorite gaining under 200 yards, you're 57.4%. So, is the system an anomaly because it's opposite? Or can you come up with a reason that if you're a road team, you play poorly the next week if your offense struggled? If you had a poor offensive performance in front of your home fans, you have then bounced back to a 57% clip. So not sure I came up with an answer. We'll see if either of the other two guys did.
Dave, we know P.J. Fleck in the past off of a couple of losses like this. He's tended to get his team to bounce back, but it's Penn State I'm worried about with who's on deck. It's Ohio State. So what do you think we're going to get here from Penn State at home in a whiteout game? Is it going to be maximum effort?
Yeah, I think so. They're not just going to show up for the game, but the situation favors Minnesota. Ralph noted those numbers, but how many of those were with a week off factored in? Because Minnesota didn't have to play last week. So Minnesota has the game when they lose. It kind of screws up their dream. Come out and play lousy the next week. But now they've had 2 full weeks. Penn State, unbeaten going into Ann Arbor, get the crap knocked out of them in the second half. They actually led 17-16, and they just got destroyed by Corum and company. They don't have any time left to recover from that. And the fact is, in big games, James Franklin stinks, okay? He just doesn't win big games. I think this is a bigger game, a big game for both teams. I think the situation favors Minnesota with the extra time to prepare, and I would give the Golden Gophers a look in this game.
All right, the Minnesota it is. How about it, Tony? What do you think here? I guess the quarterback situation, is that the first thing you want to clarify one way or the other, or does it not matter to you here?
No, it absolutely matters. I mean, Tanner Morgan, he was rated the Pro Football Focus top-rated quarterback all of the season entering that loss at Purdue. I mean, those numbers.
They're crazy. They're crazy.
Yeah, those numbers you can take them with a grain of salt because that's obviously, you immediately balk at that. But he played well. Now you have to take it into consideration the competition level that he played. New Mexico State, Western Illinois, Colorado. So while Morgan gives them certainly the experience factor in a whiteout, the backup's Ethan Kalikmanis. He has barely played against Illinois last week after Morgan got hurt. So, you kind of have to take that into consideration. I want no part of that in Happy Valley. A lack of experience. Certainly Minnesota can run the ball. Mo Ibrahim, 14 consecutive games with 100 plus yards. The offensive line is going to be physical. Trey Potts is in the mix too. But again, I think this is a Penn State spot. Illinois got destroyed last week. I mean, they had a 90-plus yard kickoff return that set up their second touchdown. They got outgained 472 to 180 by the Illini. 27-12 in first downs. They held the ball for under 20 minutes. So, I mean, this is a Minnesota team that has not played well. They had the bye week before this game after the loss, a homecoming loss to Purdue. So it's not a team that's playing well. They're 0-3 and have not covered in any of those 3 games in Happy Valley over the last 3 visits there. So Penn State or nothing for me.
Penn State or squat. That's what it's like.
Is crazy with that.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, I don't even think he's a top 7, Dave, in the Big Ten quarterbacks. Like, my goodness. But
he's a good game manager.
Yes, the right system. Correct.
Yeah, yep. But he's not. I don't think he's a pro prospect at all.
No.
It's a heck of a lot easier to be a quarterback when you have the rush attack that Minnesota has. So
yeah. Well, when you can.
We saw a couple weeks ago with Ibrahim not in. Right. So that should be the telling point of how he looks.
Yep, yeah. When you can rush for 200 a game, that tends to work. And it worked really well the first couple of games, but then they played real teams and not so much. So the Gophers, the Golden Gophers taking on Nittany Lions, game number 2. And then we'll head out to the Big 12 here for a third game, and we'll talk Kansas State and TCU. TCU, 3.5 here with a 55.5. This was a little bit higher when it first opened. And it has come back down here as Kansas State and Coach Kleiman coming off of this bye here, Dave. How many more big games is TCU going to play in a row? It's what a schedule it has been and what a job Sonny Dykes has done. But are we asking too much of this TCU team here to not only win but cover?
Well, I don't think it's a great spot for TCU because they're coming off an absolute war with the Oklahoma State. Great game and a tremendous win for the Horned Frogs. Kansas State didn't play at all last week. And I put a lot of the scheduling dynamics. Kansas State's going to be the fresher team here. And I'm not saying it's a flat spot by any means of TCU, but it was a battle of unbeatens on one of the biggest college football weekends in recent memory. And those scheduling dynamics point to Kansas State here. The number also points to them because the money, and I think it's pretty sharp money, is coming on Kansas State. I think it's a real close game. And given the freshness factor, that overweighs everything else to me. I think Kansas State's got a real good chance to pull the upset this week and would look at the Wildcats plus the points.
Yeah, crazy schedule here, Ralph, for what TCU has had to go through. And, here it is, another one now with Kansas State. But Kleiman has been pure money as a underdog here with Kansas State. 12-8 against the number. 8 of those 12, though, have been outright wins here. So what do you do, Ralph, in this game?
Well, I lean Kansas State, no question. Let's not forget, we talked about the last few weeks. TCU schedule the last 4 weeks. At SMU, where a coach is going where he had previously coached. The Oklahoma game. Kansas, which, again, all of a sudden turned into a game day. And then Oklahoma State, and now this. When you have a team like Kansas State that can run the ball, that plays solid defense, that doesn't turn the ball over. They're plus 8 turnovers this season. That's part of the reason there for success. TCU's offense with Duggan, 16 touchdowns, 1 interception. They're number 2 in the country, averaging 7.6 yards per play, a powerful offense. I agree with Dave on the scheduling situation. I went to the database and I found a surprising number, which I'll share with you. But when you have a team that's off that win, like Kansas State did, going to Iowa State, having the bye week to prep for this team, having the film on this new offense that is now 5 weeks in, situational edge to Kansas State. Remember, TCU trailed by 14 last week going into the fourth quarter. In the last 10 years, there's only been 67 teams that have trailed by 14 or more into the fourth quarter and have won, just over 500. But when teams trailed by 14 or more and won the game and they were at home, they've actually covered 61.1% of the time. I actually expected that number to be negative, to have to fight, to have a big finish to a game, and then play the next week with no rest. But again, I'm just telling you what the numbers share. It's not a huge sample size, only 36 times, but they are 22 and 14 against the spread, 61.1%. Even with that number again, I believe the situation favors Kansas State. They proved to me that they can play as a dog and win as a dog. Lean with the purple.
Leaving with the purple.
Actually, they're both purple.
I was going to say,
the
whole damn game is purple, Ralph. How about it, Tony Mejia? What do you think? You leaning purple as well?
I love the purple in this game. I think purple will be victorious. Look, there's a reason I'm staying away from this game. TCU's been really good to me. Rivalry game against SMU. They showed up, delivered on the over. I was in on that. Oklahoma dominated from start to finish. No Dylan Gabriel. That's actually been their easiest game over the last four. The Kansas game I stayed away from. I believe it either pushed or you covered if you got in a little early. Made tremendous plays in that game. It was a seesaw battle. In Lawrence, obviously, game day was there. And then last week, they played from behind against your Cowboys all day long. I was on TCU and that over. That over looked dead the entire way. And then we got into overtime, and I got the win there. TCU holds Oklahoma State in that game to 32 yards of total offense in the fourth quarter. Is that an anomaly, or can TCU play a little bit of defense? We're going to find out this week, because another thing that I don't trust that keeps me off of Kansas State is Adrian Martinez has yet to throw an interception this season. I think that is bound to change at some point. But look, there's no question that you have to factor in, first and foremost, the fact that this is a fifth consecutive tough game for TCU, and K-State comes in off a bye. Kleiman said everybody that played against Iowa State is good to go. They've got the linebacker Duke back. Their top defensive end, Nate Macklick, is going to be back. They gave him the week off last week, and now anticipate that he'll play. But again, I don't want to go against Dykes. TCU fell off the cliff, 23 and 24 the last four seasons under Gary Patterson. Now they're 6-0. So this is a game that I'll watch and be very interested in, but want no action, no part of either team.
It is kind of amazing. And guys, I remember sitting here last year right around week 3, maybe week 4, and Dave was sitting there, and we talked about a TCU game, and David said he's lost it, man. He's lost. He's not the coach he used to be. This is not the TCU team it used to be. And, man, a lot of those same players, what a difference a year makes with the right coach. Unbelievable job. TCU taking on Kansas State is game number 3 here, guys. And now it is time to figure out if there's one of these games these guys like a little bit more than the rest for a best bet. I do want to remind you, all 3 are ready to go, though. Opportunities speak right now at WagerTalk.com. Like I had told you guys, those 3-day, 7-day, 30-day all-access packages, all sports, every play in real time as they get posted. That is the best way to go about this, guys. Dave continuing to be number 1 in profits over the last 30 days, number 1 in college football. Tony Mejia, of course, getting ready for the NBA. He's got his plays ready to go. And Ralph also crushing it over the last couple of weeks, guys. Don't miss out. Head over to WagerTalk.com now and pick up those best bets as they come in this week. So, Dave, I'm going to come to you first here. Tell me which one of these games you like a little more than the rest.
Well, I want to mention I misspoke on Minnesota. Their bye week was actually prior to last week.
Prior week, right.
I still think they'll be the fresher team here. Yep. Best bet on the show, it's got to be Kansas State. The situational stuff here is definitely points to them. Is TCU the better team? Yeah, but it's a really tough spot for the Horned Frogs. And as you get deeper into the season, I think scheduling dynamics have to play a bigger part in your weekly analysis. And in this case, that's the difference for me. Points me to Kansas State plus the points. I'll go with the Wildcats for my best bet. So, Kelly Stewart, if you're watching, good news for you.
Yes, yeah, she hemmed and hawed about taking him at 4. I wonder if she took him at 3 here now, 3.5. Talk to me here, Ralph, for a best bet here on the show. Is one of these games one you like a little more than the rest?
No, I was not enamored with anyone here. So I went off the board, and this was the play I actually posted for my clients. So if you jump on board for an all access, this is the play that you will get. And I'm going to lay the number with Ohio State. How can you lay 29 with a defense like Iowa? Well, it's simple. If you play the game out in matchups, Ohio State's defense has held 4 of their 6 foes to a season low. Penn State averaging 15 points and 239 yards per game. 239 yards per game. So can Iowa get to 10? Maybe. Can Ohio State get to 39? I absolutely think so. And if you think Iowa's defense, only allowing 265 yards, the pass offenses they face this year, an FCS team in South Dakota State, number 46, number 93, number 76, number 115, and number 118. You're going against the best offense in football, mismatch. Buckeyes, lay over 4 touchdowns, no issues.
I love it. I'm wondering, Tony Mejia, was Spencer Petras in that same publication as a pro prospect? Just curious. Want to make sure we never, ever read that publication.
Hey, Pro Football Focus does a nice job in the NFL. I think they're out of their element in college football at times. We'll say that. And if Petras is there, you know that for a fact. All right. So we'll also join Ralph in going off the board here. And I'm going to pick on Houston again. And they're coming off a bye. But I mean, it was pretty obvious that Dana Holgorsen is really disappointed and hates his team, and they probably hate him too. And they're coming off a bye where they're preparing for Navy's triple option. So those practices must have been fun. And then I was curious to see if maybe the bye week would at least heal some of these guys, because they were the walking wounded, in the last couple of games against Tulane and then against Memphis. And then you had the miracle comeback against Memphis where they score, 2 touchdowns in the last minute 17 to get a win that they absolutely didn't deserve. So you go into a bye week maybe with your morale high. Holgorsen said the other day as many as 15 players are going to miss this Navy game. And then you look at the line. The line is fishy as hell. It's only Houston -3. Navy's been lousy over the last few years, but since their bye week earlier in the season have been really, pretty solid. The East Carolina game, they won outright on the road. They played well. Upset Tulsa, demonstrated some resiliency last week in a Friday night loss to SMU. They lost 40-34. It wasn't really as close as that score indicated because Mustangs scored about 20 unanswered points in the third quarter. But Navy didn't quit, and I don't think Niumatalolo is going to lose them. So from that standpoint, I think they're live dogs here. Last year, they were nearly a 20-point underdog at Houston and led at halftime 17-7, lost 28-20. This is a game they could win outright. I think they probably will, especially at home. It means a little more to the Navy football players at home in Annapolis. I think they get it done against the Cougs, take the points.
All right. I don't even
hear. Joe?
Yeah, go ahead, Ralph.
Joe, can I throw in one more point?
Shoot.
On Tony's game, I did a study a couple years ago on option teams breaking out the first third of the season, the middle third of the season, and the last third of the season. And there are clear numbers that support how much better an option team plays at the end of the year. The offensive lining, the timing, the pitches, the familiarity. And, look at the way Navy has started the last few years this way, especially like Tony said. So, as you're handicapping, I tend to upgrade those option teams as we get as they get at least 4 or 5 games into the season.
Can't say anything wrong about Navy. That backdoor cover was fantastic last week. Let's see if they can get it going again this week here, guys. But don't forget, head over to WagerTalk.com as we recap your best bets here with Ralph saying, don't be afraid. It's a big number. Lay it, Ohio State. Laying the 29 over Iowa. Mejia likes Navy to handle business there at home against Houston. And Dave says Kansas State coming off that bye, ready to take care of business against TCU. Live odds page up and available, guys, for free at WagerTalk.com. Check it out. Never miss a line movement. Great, great free option for you there while you're at WagerTalk.com. And, of course, grab those 3-day, 7-day, 30-day all-access packages. Dave Cokin, Ralph Michaels, Tony Mejia. Take advantage here, guys, in Week 8 of the college football season. We'll be back again tomorrow, breaking down a few more games for you, a couple of more best bets. And until then, best of luck with your plays tonight, guys. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Good luck.
Opening night of the NBA season is close. It's Tuesday, October 18th. Do you think the Golden State Warriors can repeat? To celebrate the start of the season, we are offering you a 7-day NBA package for only $49. Yes, that's only $7 a day, and it will be valid through Sunday, October 23rd at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo. There is no limit to the number of handicappers that you can get. Just head to your favorite capper's homepage.